Growing up in the Barrett family was like living in a group chat where every message was a roast, and you were permanently muted. Everyone had a role. My cousin Jeremy was the future lawyer. Taylor was the ex-big tech genius. And I was the background noise. The guy who fixed things when the AC rattled or the faucet dripped. I was handy, which was code for not college material. The infamous barbecue happened on a sweltering August Saturday at Uncle Brian's place. He had the biggest backyard, the loudest voice, and apparently the least developed sense of subtlety. He was the kind of guy who called every mildly useful item in his life a tax write-off, and believed therapy was a scam invented by people with weak handshakes. That year, I was 22, fresh out of trade school with a plumbing certification and a battered red pickup I'd bought with the money I'd saved installing toilets for rich folks in the suburbs. Not glamorous, but it paid more than any internship Jeremy had ever fumbled through. The smell of grilled ribs was thick in the air. Everyone was standing in a circle near the picnic table while Brian was telling some exaggerated story about how he negotiated a 20% discount on his neighbor's landscaping crew just by flexing his HOA rank. Then came the moment. Jeremy mentioned he was considering a semester off. Just one. To explore some things, he said, probably meaning Burning Man or a startup with no business plan. Brian burst out laughing and pointed at me, spatula still in hand. You wanna end up like Mason? Drop out and fix toilets for a living? Laughter. All around. Even my dad chuckled awkwardly, and that hurt worse than Brian's words. My mom whispered something about, "He's just teasing." Like that made it better. I didn't say anything. I just quietly put down my plate of potato salad and walked away. People think silence is weakness. But sometimes, silence is insulation. It keeps you from blowing up and becoming the villain in someone else's story. The rest of the barbecue went on as if nothing had happened. Someone brought out a Bluetooth speaker. Jeremy started DJing with an embarrassing playlist. Aunt Lisa tried to get everyone to do a group TikTok. My cousin Hannah took selfies like her life depended on it. And I stood by the fence, looking at the backyard lights and wondering how the hell I was the joke. The guy who made his own money, paid his own rent, and didn't have to beg his parents for Uber money. Somehow that guy was the cautionary tale. When I finally left, no one even noticed. Not even my mom. I got in my truck, turned the key, and let the radio play static for a while before driving off. But the thing is, I didn't feel small. I felt mad. The kind of slow, simmering mad that doesn't explode, it calcifies. It turns into something sharper. A vow. I remember gripping the steering wheel and whispering, "Okay then. Let's see where the dropout ends up." It wasn't a declaration of war. Just a promise to myself. That week, I picked up more side jobs. Fixing some pumps. Replacing broken disposal units. Snaking clogged drains in million-dollar homes while homeowners acted like I was invisible. And I saved every dollar. I started tracking income on a spreadsheet labeled "Shut Them Up Fund." One pipe at a time, I stacked that fund. No flashy revenge plans, no dramatic speeches. Just quiet, relentless work. Because maybe I wasn't building a business just yet. Maybe I was just building proof. Proof that I didn't need their respect to succeed, but I'd earn it anyway. By the time fall rolled around, I had a rhythm. I woke up before the sun, checked the job board, made calls, hit the road. There wasn't anything glamorous about hauling a tool bag up 2 flights of stairs to unclog a drain that smelled like death warmed over. But I got faster, smarter, sharper. Word started spreading. Turns out, rich people talk when their plumbing fails. I wasn't just that guy Mason who fixes sinks. I became Mason, the guy who actually shows up and doesn't track mud through your imported tile foyer. I even had business cards made. Matte black, white lettering. Simple. Mason Barrett Plumbing. Underneath, fixing what others mess up. I didn't have an office yet. I didn't need one. My truck was my command center, my tool bag my briefcase, and my coffee mug? It lived permanently in the cup holder, stained and unbothered. The money wasn't huge at first, But it was mine. I wasn't eating ramen every night, but I wasn't at steakhouses either. I learned how to reinvest. New drill, better snaking gear, SEO for my one-page site. I got a logo made that didn't look like it was designed by someone's nephew in paint. And I kept my mouth shut. I didn't post about it. Didn't humble brag on Facebook. Didn't send a mass text announcing, "Mason's Plumbing is open for business," sweat droplets. I didn't need them to clap. But one day, I got a text from my dad. Just 3 words, "You doing okay?" That was code. In our family, "You doing okay?" really meant, we heard something through the grapevine, and were trying to verify without actually asking directly. I didn't reply. Not because I was mad, but because I wasn't ready. See, the barbecue moment never left me. Not really. It was like a little scar that stung in the cold. I kept hearing Brian's voice in my head. Want to end up like Mason? Like my name was synonymous with failure. With giving up. With grease stains and low ceilings. So no, I wasn't rushing to let them back in. Not yet. Instead, I kept grinding. I got certified for commercial jobs. Started bidding on small contracts for office buildings. By the end of the year, I had more work than I could handle. That's when I hired someone. Just one guy at first, Darren. He was fresh out of trade school, nervous, and wore steel-toe boots like he thought they'd bite him. But he worked hard, listened, and didn't flinch when a client screamed over a backed-up shower drain. Hiring him felt surreal. Like I'd leveled up without realizing it. And then one morning, I was elbow-deep in a mess behind a washing machine in a townhome complex when I heard my name. Mason? I turned and nearly smacked my head on the wall. Standing in the doorway was Jeremy, the golden boy himself, complete with cuffed khakis, leather loafers, and a Bluetooth headset clipped like it was 2011. "Didn't know you worked out here," he said, glancing around the laundry room like it was a crime scene. I wiped my hands and nodded. Just finished a job nearby. Client called in a panic. Drain line shot. Jeremy gave a tight smile. Cool. You're like doing the small business thing? It wasn't really a question. It was a performance. A way to say, "You're still down there, huh?" I just nodded. "Yeah. Keeps me busy." He shrugged. "Hey, maybe if this startup I'm with takes off, we'll hire you. Big office. Might need someone to fix the bathrooms, right?" Then he laughed. That same smug chuckle from the barbecue. Only this time, I didn't walk away. I smiled. "That'd be great. Be sure to call early, I book fast." Jeremy blinked. It wasn't the comeback he expected. I didn't give him time to recover. I packed up, gave the client my card, and left. But inside I felt it, that click. That quiet little snap when you know the tables are starting to turn. Not all at once. Not with drama. But slowly. And soon. Thanksgiving crept in with its usual family group chat chaos. "Who's bringing what?" "Lisa's kids don't eat gluten now. We'll do pies." "Mason, can you bring paper towels or something?" Ah, yes. The sacred honor of bringing paper towels. Like I was the intern of the holiday. It was happening at my parents' house this year, like always. And by always, I mean, they did all the organizing, Brian did all the shouting, Jeremy showed up late but loud, and I was somewhere between the coat rack and the guest bathroom. This time, I almost didn't go. I hovered over that RSVP message for hours. But I thought about my mom. About the fact that she still sent me those blurry sunrise photos every Monday with "New week, new strength, flexed biceps." She didn't always defend me, but she hadn't abandoned me either. So I showed up. Not to be seen, just not to disappear. I parked my truck around the corner, wore jeans without holes, and brought a giant pack of Bounty paper towels. 2-ply. Premium. The second I walked in, the smell of turkey and overcooked green beans hit me like a childhood flashback. The kids were screaming, the wine was flowing, and Brian was already halfway through a loud story about how, back in his day, people worked real jobs. I put the paper towels on the kitchen counter. No one looked up. I was halfway through a dry dinner roll when Brian plopped into the seat across from me. "Still doing the toilet thing?" he asked, like he was asking if I still collected garbage for fun. I nodded. "Yeah. Hired a second guy last month." Brian snorted. "Better hope they don't unionize. You'd have to call HR. Oh wait, you are HR." He cackled like he just invented comedy. I smiled, but inside? It burned. I looked around the table. Jeremy was bragging about his startup's third pivot. Now they were a mindfulness app for pets. Taylor was on her iPad Googling grad schools mid-meal, and I was still the joke. Worse? They thought I was used to it by now. Like I was just the background character that shows up for comic relief and exits before dessert. Mid-dinner, I caught my dad watching me. Not mocking, just studying. Like he couldn't quite figure me out. I didn't say anything. Just sipped my water. After dessert, I helped clear plates. Nobody asked me to. I just needed to move. And while everyone else huddled around the living room TV for football and political arguments, I slipped out back. Into the garage. The one I used to clean every summer just to have peace. It was quiet. Dusty bikes. Old Christmas boxes. And in the corner, my high school toolbox. Still there. Rusted shut. Covered in spider webs. Forgotten like I was. It hit me in the ribs. That thing used to mean something. I spent hours organizing it, color-coded sockets, labeled compartments. It was mine, even when everything else in that house felt borrowed. I opened the lid, and it creaked like a voice I hadn't heard in years. Inside was a cracked flashlight, some mismatched bolts, and a folded-up note in my old handwriting. "Don't stop. Not for them." I didn't cry. Not poetic like that. But I did stand there for a while. Breathing. Feeling. And then? My phone buzzed. It was an address in Glendale. Unknown number. Followed by, "Please help." Pipe burst. Water everywhere. "Saw your ad. Holiday rates okay." I stared at it for a second. Then I smiled. Because while Brian was throwing back pumpkin pie and trying to one-up everyone on who knew the economy best, I had a paying job. I walked back inside, nodded at my mom, and told her I had a call. "Work," I said simply. She frowned. "Now?" I nodded. "They pay extra on holidays." Brian overheard and laughed. "Must be nice, charging double to fix other people's crap." I grinned. "Triple, actually." He blinked. "And they pay it," I added. "Gladly." Then I grabbed my coat, waved to no one in particular, and left. Tool bag in the trunk. Card in my pocket. Bounty paper towels are still unopened on the counter. The Glendale job turned out to be a nightmare, and also the best timing of my career. A duplex. Second floor. The upstairs tenant had tried to DIY a leaky valve under their kitchen sink using zip ties and duct tape. Bold strategy. By the time I got there, the downstairs unit had a soaked ceiling and water dripping down the hallway light fixtures like it was a haunted house. They handed me cash without blinking. I worked straight through midnight, finished patching the supply line, then replaced 2 busted shut-off valves and capped a rusted elbow that had no business still existing in 2025. As I packed up, the downstairs tenant, a middle-aged woman in a bathrobe and leopard print slippers, handed me hot cider and said, "You know, I called 4 other plumbers before you. One guy ghosted me. The other said he'd come next week. You showed up. On a holiday. In the rain." I nodded and said, "That's kind of my thing." She raised an eyebrow. "You got a card? My brother owns some rental properties. He'll love you." I gave her 2. That moment should have been enough to make my night. But life's got a twisted sense of humor. Because the very next afternoon, around 2 p.m., my phone rang again. No name. Just the number. And a voicemail. "Hey Mason, this is Brian. I know it's been a while. Listen, we've got, kind of a plumbing situation over here. It's bad. Real bad. There's water coming out of the, well, We don't know where it's coming from. Please, give me a call. Soon. I stared at the screen. Laughed out loud. And then I played it again, just to hear him ask. Turns out, while I was fixing someone else's chaos, Brian's master bathroom turned into a personal water park. The pipe behind his toilet had burst. Flooded the vanity, soaked the tile, and cherry on top, the leak had gone unnoticed overnight. Now it had seeped through the drywall into his newly renovated walk-in closet. Oh, and guess what? His regular guy was out of town. Jeremy, apparently, tried to turn off the valve, but shut off the sprinkler system instead. I didn't call back. Not right away. I went about my afternoon. Grabbed coffee. Picked up a new filter for my truck. Took a nap. Then around 6:45 p.m. I texted back one word. Rate? 10 seconds later. Whatever your rate is. Just please. We need help. I didn't respond. Instead, I grabbed my jacket, loaded up my gear, and stopped at the gas station near their neighborhood, just long enough to make sure I arrived at golden hour. You know, when the front porch lights are on and everyone's home. When I knocked, the door swung open like it had been yanked from a movie set. There stood Brian, hair frazzled, shirt stained, socks wet. Mason, he gasped. Thank God. I stepped in. Looked around. Tile smeared. Towels everywhere. Jeremy frantically holding a bucket under a leaking ceiling. My aunt pacing in slippers. Their fancy candle collection stacked on the dining table like it could somehow absorb the chaos. You know, I said calmly, this is exactly the kind of thing that happens when someone skips their annual pipe inspection. Brian opened his mouth to speak, then closed it again. I got to work. Didn't rush. Didn't gloat. I fixed the pipe. Sealed the wall. Reconnected the water line. All while Jeremy hovered like a squirrel on Red Bull, asking useless questions. An hour later, it was done. Brian followed me to the front door, practically groveling. You're a lifesaver, he said. I held out my hand. Triple holiday rate. He blinked. Triple? I shrugged. Standard for last-minute emergencies. I'm sure you understand. He didn't argue. Just handed over his card. And as the machine beeped to confirm the payment, I looked him dead in the eye and said, Still doing the toilet thing. Then I walked out. After the Brian situation, I figured I wouldn't hear from him again, not unless another pipe exploded. But 2 days later, he added me to the family group chat. You know, the one I was mysteriously removed from years ago after accidentally leaving the door open during Aunt Lisa's cat allergy meltdown. Suddenly, I was back in. First message. Brian. Big thanks to Mason for helping us out this weekend. Real professional work. Appreciate you, man. Someone sent a thumbs up. Then another. Then Jeremy replied. Jeremy. Always knew you were building something. Mad respect, cousin flex biceps. I blinked at my phone like it had grown antlers. I didn't reply. Just muted the chat. That weekend I had 3 new jobs, all from friends of friends. One said, Your uncle spoke highly of you. I nearly spit out my coffee. Brian? Spoke highly? This man once told my dad that I looked like I crawled out of a septic tank with dreams. Now he was recommending me like I was Yelp certified. And that's when I realized the rewrite had begun. They weren't apologizing. They were editing the narrative. Pretending the barbecue never happened. Pretending the Thanksgiving snark was just playful teasing. Pretending they always believed in me. I got invited to Taylor's birthday dinner. It's just a chill get-together, she said. Nothing big. You should come. I didn't. But I did send a bottle of wine. Not cheap. Not showy. Just quiet. And sure enough, next morning on Facebook. Taylor. Shout out to my cousin Mason for the amazing wine rec. You always have great taste. Red heart. The same Taylor who once told me, You smell like bleach and disappointment. When I showed up to Grandma's birthday straight from a job. Now I was classy. The delusion was strong. Even my mom got in on it. We were having coffee one afternoon, just the two of us, and she said, "You know, your uncle's always admired your work ethic. He just has a rough way of showing it." I raised an eyebrow. "The fixed toilets for a living kind of admiration?" She flinched. "He didn't mean it like that." "Of course not. He meant it with love, like all great insults passed off as jokes." But I didn't argue. I wasn't here to win debates. I was here to live rent-free in their revised history. And man, they were working overtime. Brian posted a Facebook status a week later. "Brian Barrett. Proud of my nephew Mason, real salt-of-the-earth kinda guy. These tradesmen are the backbone of America." Comments flooded in. "Amen. So true. Love this." One lady commented, "You must have been such a great mentor to him." And Brian, God bless him, liked it. That's when I screenshotted it. All of it. Every post. Every fake compliment. Every message trying to repaint me as one of the boys they'd supported all along. I wasn't mad. Honestly, it was kind of hilarious. Watching them scramble to put the "We've always loved Mason" sticker on a relationship they never even bothered to maintain. But I didn't correct them. Not yet. Because I wasn't done building. And when the time came, when I really stepped into what I was building, I wanted them to be loud about it. To post it. Share it. Brag. So I could show them exactly how they treated me before the plumbing checks cleared. It's funny how the same people who mocked your job will later act like they practically taught you everything. By spring, my business wasn't just stable, it was thriving. I'd hired 2 more techs, one of them a Navy vet who could rewire a water heater with his eyes closed, and another kid named Luis who showed up to the interview with no resume but said, "I've been watching plumbing YouTube since I was 10. I hired him on the spot. We moved into a small warehouse space, nothing fancy, but big enough to store inventory, outfit our vans, and keep one folding chair for lunch breaks. I got decals made for our trucks, a clean logo, white on navy, and matching uniforms with our news slogan embroidered under the collar. We don't snake it, we solve it. Cheesy? Sure. But clients loved it. Within weeks, word spread. A condo complex hired us. Then a local chain of cafes. Then a property manager called saying, "I heard you're the guy who fixed the church leak during their Easter brunch." I didn't even remember that one. But apparently it stuck. Meanwhile, family events kept popping up in the group chat like seasonal flu. Rachel's birthday was next. "Just a small dinner," the message said. "Business casual. Come if you can." I considered skipping, again. But I'd already ghosted 2 gatherings, and I knew how that looked in family PR land. So I went. Khakis, boots cleaned with lemon oil, and a shirt that didn't have a company logo on it for once. I parked down the block, just in case I wanted to leave without the awkward parade walk. The dinner was at a downtown seafood place. Real white tablecloth energy. Everyone was already halfway into their drinks when I arrived. Jeremy squinted as I Saturday. "Hey, Mason. You still running your little tool crew or whatever?" I smiled. "Tool Empire, actually." Brian overheard. "Man, you should have seen the work he did at our place. Real clean. Precise. You'd think he was a surgeon with a wrench." Everyone laughed. I didn't. I remembered the barbecue. I remembered Jeremy miming toilet flushes behind my back while Brian led the "Want to end up like him?" chorus. Now they were quoting me like I'd been giving TED Talks at Home Depot. Dinner moved on. I stayed quiet, just sipping my water, answering questions only when asked. Rachel's husband leaned over at one point and asked, "Hey Mason, you do commercial? Our firm's urinals have been acting up for weeks." I slid him a card. Didn't say a word. 2 days later, I had a walkthrough scheduled. 1 week after that, I had a quarterly maintenance contract across 6 floors of that law firm's offices, 5 figures, recurring. I stared at the invoice the night it cleared. I almost printed it and mailed it to Brian with a sticky note. "Still fixing toilets." Instead, I made a grilled cheese and watched reruns of Kitchen Nightmares. Like a king. But the real shift? It wasn't the money. It was how they started talking about me. Like they'd always known. At the end of dinner, my aunt clinked her glass and said, "Honestly, I'm just so proud of how far we've all come. Every one of us is doing something meaningful." She looked at me when she said it. Like I was part of the we. Now, my cousin Lisa added, "I always said Mason had something in him. He was just quiet about it." Quiet? Girl, you once put "fixes toilets" in quotes when describing me on a party invite. I didn't say anything. Just smiled and nodded. Because here's the thing. I didn't need their apologies. I needed their attention. And I had it now, wrapped in revisionist history and vague Facebook posts about supporting tradesmen. I started a folder in my notes app. Screenshots. Quotes. Job totals. The works. Labeled. They laughed. Because one day soon I'd need it. And not out of spite. Out of precision. Because eventually, one of them was going to need something bigger. And when they did, I wasn't going to fix it quietly. It started with a tag on Facebook. Just a blurry photo from a fundraiser my parents attended, something about community renovation projects. I wasn't there. I hadn't even heard about it. But there I was in the caption. "So proud of our son Mason and the amazing work he's doing around the city. A true inspiration in the trades." Excuse me? A true inspiration. These were the same parents who once asked if I had a real plan. When I said I was going into plumbing. Who told Aunt Carla I was still figuring things out. Even when I had my first truck, business license, and steady clients. Now they were reposting city cleanup articles like I'd won the Nobel Prize in drainage. I didn't comment. I just saved the post in the they laughed folder under a new tab called PR Spin Attempts. But the real kicker came the following month. My dad called. Not texted. Not a voicemail. He called. "Hey kiddo," he said casually, like we'd been talking every Sunday for years. "How's the empire?" "Still fixing toilets," I said flatly. He chuckled awkwardly. "Listen, there's this awards banquet next week. Chamber of Commerce thing. I think they're recognizing small business owners. I put your name in a while back." I raised an eyebrow. "You what?" "Well, they asked for local businesses contributing to the community. And you know, I thought of you." I said nothing. He filled the silence. "Anyway, they picked you. You'll be getting a plaque or something. And they're asking if a family member wants to present it." My jaw clenched. "And you volunteered?" "Well, yeah. I mean, I figured it'd be a proud moment. For us. Us. Right. The us. That once made fun of me for coming home with grease on my jeans. The us that voted me. Most likely to flood a basement. In a family group chat poll when I first launched my business. But I didn't yell. Didn't even sigh. I just said, "What time is it?" He gave me the details: ballroom, Friday night, cocktail attire. He even offered to pay for my suit rental. I told him I had my own. When the night came, I walked into that banquet hall in a tailored charcoal suit I bought last year after landing the 6th-floor commercial contract. It was sharp. So was I. I saw my dad talking to one of the event organizers near the front, arms waving like he was coaching my life story in advance. When they called my name, there was polite applause. Not thunderous. Just enough to feel like people had read the program. I stepped up, took the plaque, and shook hands. My dad leaned toward the mic. "I'm so proud of this young man," he started. From the moment he showed interest in hands-on work, I knew he was going to be different. Driven. Focused. Unafraid to get his hands dirty. I took the mic gently. Smiling. "Thanks, Dad," I said. I turned to the crowd. "I appreciate this honor. And I especially want to thank my team, the people who helped me go from fixing leaks out of the back of a second-hand van to running a full operation." Polite claps. "But most of all," I added, "I want to thank the people who didn't believe in me. The ones who laughed, doubted, joked. You gave me something far better than support. Pause. You gave me drive. Silence. A few nods. One woman in the back actually mouthed, "Damn." I smiled again. And in the end, well, turns out fixing toilets isn't such a joke after all. More claps now. Louder. Dad chuckled uncomfortably. I handed him the mic back, but he didn't take it. So I held up the plaque for a photo, gave the camera my best. "This is awkward but fine." Face, and walked off stage. That night, I got 3 new leads through my business page. Apparently, some folks at the banquet had real plumbing problems. 2 days after the banquet, Brian texted me. "Brian. Hey man, saw the video from the event. Real proud of you, bro. Been telling everyone you were always destined for big things." Flexed biceps. I stared at the message for a full minute before replying. Me. Appreciate it. By the way, you still dealing with that shower pressure issue? He responded instantly. Brian. Yeah, actually. It's driving us nuts. Water goes cold too. Think you can take a look sometime? And that was it. The last piece. Because you know what I did? I opened up my... They laughed. Folder. Found the screenshots from the barbecue. Found the video clip where Brian mocked me, laughed, and called plumbing career purgatory. Found the group chat screenshot where Jeremy once posted a meme that said, "Why get a degree when you can smell like sewage for $80K a year?" Then I put it all in a PDF. Titled it, Appreciation Packet, Volume 1. And sent it. 10 minutes later, no reply. 2 hours later? Still nothing. But the next morning, I woke up to Brian. Hey man, yeah? Got the file. Didn't realize you were still holding on to all that. Me. I wasn't. Until you all started pretending it didn't happen. No reply after that. But the point had been made. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even bitter. Honestly, I was just full. Full of something they never bothered to feed, belief. And now? Now I had a wait list for spring appointments. I had a team I trusted. A warehouse space I paid off early. And clients who didn't care whether I had a degree or wore a suit, just that when things burst, leaked, or flooded, I showed up. Like I always had. So when people ask me if I ever got back at my family, I just say, no. They still get plumbing problems. And now? They just get the invoice too.